For nearly 580 years, Africa has supplied the world. Gold that funded empires, cocoa that feeds global industries, diamonds that symbolize luxury, oil that powers economies, minerals that run modern technology. For centuries, wealth has flowed outward, and yet Africa is still rich. So the real question isn't what was taken, the real question is how much must still remain. In the 15th century, European maritime expansion intensified along African coasts. What began as trade gradually evolved into structured extraction. Africa became integrated into a global system primarily as a supplier of labor, a supplier of raw materials, and a strategic gateway to global trade routes. From the 1440s onward, Africa's role in the global economy was rarely as manufacturer, but consistently as source. Few regions have experienced such prolonged external demand for their wealth, and still the supply did not end. Before gold, before diamonds, Africa's greatest wealth was its people. Complex societies existed across the continent, agricultural systems, trade networks, skilled craftsmanship, governance structures. Over centuries, millions were forcibly removed. This was not only a humanitarian tragedy, it was an economic extraction of human capital. And yet, population growth eventually recovered. Cultures adapted, knowledge survived. Even after severe demographic disruption, African societies endured. That resilience is rarely part of the global conversation. West Africa was historically known as the Gold Coast for a reason. Gold from African soil strengthened European currencies, financed global trade expansion, and supported early banking systems. Centuries of mining followed. And yet today, Africa remains one of the world's leading gold-producing regions. After hundreds of years of extraction, the reserves are still significant. This is not depletion. This is depth. Fast forward to the modern era. Africa now produces the majority of the world's cocoa supply. Every single day, chocolate is consumed across continents. Global brands profit, and international markets fluctuate. Yet cocoa farming communities often remain at the lowest point in the value chain. The trees continue to grow. The harvest continues each season. Even after decades of industrial-scale production, Africa remains central to the industry. That continuity is powerful. Diamonds from southern and central Africa still shape global luxury markets. Oil from West and North Africa continues to influence global energy systems. Cobalt, lithium, and rare minerals, essential for smartphones, batteries, and electric vehicles, remain heavily concentrated in African soil. This means Africa did not only power the past, Africa powers the present. And increasingly, Africa will power the future. Few continents can claim that level of sustained global relevance. Throughout history, infrastructure was built across Africa: railways, ports, extraction corridors. But most of these systems were designed to move resources outward, not to create internal industrialization. So the paradox emerged. A continent rich in materials but constrained in value-added production, the wealth existed. Control over processing and profit often did not. That distinction honestly shaped the modern economic landscape. After 580 years of continuous global demand, colonial restructuring, resource-intensive industries, and unequal trade systems, Africa remains resource-rich, demographically young, geographically strategic, and economically significant. This is not fragility. This is structural importance. The world still depends on African supply chains. If Africa has supplied the world for nearly 6 centuries and remains rich today, then the defining question of the next century becomes, what happens when more value is retained locally? What happens when processing, manufacturing, and ownership increase internally? The conversation shifts from extraction to transformation. Africa has given for 580 years. Gold, cocoa, diamonds, energy, labor, and still it stands rich, not empty, not exhausted, still central. History explains the past, but control will define the future.